Welcome to my next offseason rebuild here on Madden 23. The rules are pretty simple. I have 3 seasons to try to win a Super Bowl, otherwise the rebuild is considered a failure. And obviously for this rebuild, I will be using the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I am going to be using Kenny Pickett for all 3 of these seasons. I'm not going to sign a new quarterback, I'm not going to draft someone else. We're going to roll with 71 overall, 25-year-old Kenny Pickett. Is that the best decision I can make here? Probably not, but that's what we're going to do. So looking over the offense, you have an 82 overall Deontay Johnson at receiver and a 79 overall George Pickens, both of them with star depth trait. You have an 83 overall superstar depth trait Najee Harris. At tight end, you have an 84 overall star depth trait Pat Freiermuth. I hope I said his name right. The offensive line does need a little bit of rebuilding. It looks like Daniels is the best one here at right guard, 80 overall. Need a new right tackle, probably a new center, and a new left tackle as well. And over on defense, I did change the playbook and the scheme from a 3-4 to a 4-3, just because Madden really determines how good you are in simulation based off schemes and playbooks. It's a really dumb concept. I don't know why they do that. I understand having it matter a little bit, but being the determining factor to how good you are is kind of dumb. But I did move TJ Watt from outside linebacker to defensive end so we can still get after the quarterback. But the defense does have some nice pieces to build around, obviously. You have TJ Watt, you have Hayward, who is 34 years old, and then you have Minkah Fitzpatrick, who is a 92 overall X-Factor safety. But now we have to re-sign some players. We have 28 players ready to negotiate their contracts, and we have $58 million in cap space, so we'll see if we're going to bring any of these guys back. I am going to offer a contract to Devin Bush here, a 3-year contract. It's not that expensive. He's a star depth trait still, and he is just not interested in signing. What about DeMonte Casey? Can we bring him back to be a backup safety on a pretty cheap deal here for 2 years? And he is glad that we got the deal done. And the next player I'm going to try to bring back is strong safety Terrell Edmunds, who is a 78 overall normal depth trait. But if we don't bring him back, we're definitely going to be looking for a safety in the draft or free agency. So just in case we don't find one, we'll offer him a contract, and he will be coming back. And how about a 1-year deal for defensive back Cameron Sutton? Does he come back on that? And no, he does not. He is not interested in signing. And I think everyone else here, we're just going to let walk. We're not going to bring back William Jackson. He has no interest in coming back. Cameron Sutton, I tried to offer a contract. Devin Bush, I tried to offer a contract. Chris Wormley, he has no interest in coming back. Same with Larry Ogunjobi. I hope I said his name right. Carl Joseph has no interest. Benny Snell, I could bring him back as a backup running back, but we have Jaylen Warren, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and not bring Benny Snell back here. And everyone else, I am just going to let walk into free agency. And before I jump into free agency, I want to take a look at the team one more time. We probably need a wide receiver 3 as of right now. Like I said earlier, we need a few linemen here. And over on defense, I would say the biggest need is going to be outside linebacker and defensive tackle. And here are the first contracts in free agency that I am throwing out here. We have defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, defensive back Jamel Dean, wide receiver Sterling Shepard, right tackle Isaiah Wynn, and outside linebacker Anthony Barr. Let's see if any of these guys will take these contracts here. And it looks like everyone signed but Barr, and they have all signed with us. So now we just have Anthony Barr left to try to get. We'll go ahead and up his contract a little bit and see if we can just get him here. And hopefully I don't have to up his contract too much. And hopefully no one else joins the bidding war here for Anthony Barr. And he is gone because he has signed with us. So this will actually be our entire free agent class because we only have $4 million in cap left. And here is the final mock draft for this draft. There are no mock draft 4 or 5 since I started at the end of the season. And just like the last couple rebuilds I've done, the Bears are expected to take Bryce Young at number 1, and they probably will. I don't see Anthony Richardson actually being taken at 4, but I guess a lot can happen between now and the draft. Let's see, I believe we have pick 17, and we are expected to take left tackle Broderick Jones. That would not really surprise me, because if he's actually a decent tackle, we do need one of those. And let's just see how accurate that mock draft was. The Bears, with the first pick in the draft, do take Bryce Young. The Texans, I believe, were mocked to take CJ Stroud, and that's where they go. The Cardinals take quarterback Will Levis, and the Colts will take quarterback Anthony Richardson. Let's see who Seattle takes with pick 5, and then we will jump to our pick. They take outside linebacker Will Anderson. And I think we are going to make this pick. Left tackle Broderick Jones out of Georgia. He has A pass block, B run block. We're going to go ahead and take him, and he will come in with a hidden depth trait. And thanks to the trade for Chase Claypool, we have the number 1 pick in the second round here. We're going to take strong safety Brian Branch out of Alabama, and he will actually be a normal depth trait. I kind of expected him to be a hidden depth trait, not going to lie. And now here with pick 17 in the second round, I'm going to take center Jarrett Patterson out of Notre Dame, and he will have a hidden depth trait. And now here with pick 17 in the third round, I'm going to take left outside linebacker Nick Herbig out of Wisconsin, and he will come in with a normal dev trade. And now I'm simming to the end of the draft. If you've never seen any of my rebuilds before, I only pick the first 3 rounds, and then I allow the CPU to pick the rest. And in the first round, we took left tackle Broderick Jones, who was a 74 overall, Brian Branch was a 75, Jarrett Patterson was a 70 overall, Nick Herbig is only a 68 overall, that's not exactly great. Caillou Blue Kelly, I hope I said his name right, is a 70 overall corner. And then we didn't have another pick until the 7th round, where they took a 65 overall defensive tackle and a 66 overall corner. And here is the starting offense for season 1 of this rebuild. And it looks like Sterling Shepard is already injured and will miss the first 2 weeks of the season. So I went ahead and signed a backup receiver in Mac Hollins. And then here is the starting defense. It looks like Caillou Blue Kelly, once again, hope I said his name right, is a hidden dev trait, so that should be pretty good for us. We added Javon Hargrave to the defense, and we also added Anthony Barr because Nick Herbig was not that great of a draft pick. I honestly don't know what to expect from this team in season 1. Generally, the first year of these rebuilds does not go great. They went 9-8 last year, so hoping for some sort of improvement there, maybe a wild card spot. And at the end of season 1, we actually do get into the playoffs. We finished 9-8 and get in as a wild card team. It looks like we had the 8th offense in points per game and the 17th defense in points per game. Well, Kenny Pickett played pretty well. 5,100 yards, 38 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. I would like to tone down the interceptions, but almost 5,200 yards is pretty solid, obviously. On the ground, Najee Harris ran for a little under 1,000 yards, but 13 touchdowns. And receiving, Deontay Johnson, 96 catches for 8 touchdowns. Sterling Shepard, 84 catches for 8 touchdowns. George Pickens, 68 catches, 880 yards, and 10 touchdowns leading the team. What about defense? Who led the team in tackles? That is going to be middle linebacker Myles Jack with 145. In sacks, TJ Watt got 22.5. And in interceptions, Myles Jack got 4. And it looks like after Tom Brady retired, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers ended up with Tyler Huntley, who throws for 5,200 yards this season, 49 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, leading the league in touchdown passes. And who led the league in picks? That would be Trevor Lawrence. And then running the ball, Josh Jacobs led the league in yards with 1,500 and in touchdowns with 27 of them. Receiving, it's always Cooper Kupp in season 1, 133 catches, 2,174 yards. But the most touchdowns comes from DeAndre Hopkins, who caught 24 of them. Sorry about that. How many touchdown passes did Will Levis throw here? He went 45 touchdowns and 18 picks as a rookie. And in the first round of the playoffs, we knock out the Ravens 28-21. But sadly, our season would come to an end in the next game against the 1 seed Indianapolis Colts, led by quarterback Anthony Richardson, by a score of 17-13. And the Super Bowl will be between the Chargers and the Cardinals. The Colts were 1 win away from making this an all-rookie Super Bowl. And rookie quarterback Will Levis has led the Cardinals to a Super Bowl victory, 31-28 over the Chargers. The NFL MVP goes to Jalen Hurts, Coach of the Year goes to Mike McCarthy, Offensive Player of the Year goes to Cooper Kupp, Defensive Player of the Year actually goes to TJ Watt, so we get that award. Will Levis is the Offensive Rookie of the Year, not really a shock, and Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Will Anderson. And now we are ready for re-signing players. 11 players ready to negotiate their contracts, and we have $64.2 million in cap space. And this is not good for our defense. Alex Highsmith is here. He has no interest in coming back. Myles Jack is here. He has no interest in coming back. Sterling Shepard has no interest in coming back. Levi Wallace has no interest in coming back. Kevin Dotson has no interest. Akello Witherspoon, I hope I said your name right, but he has no interest. Montravius Adams has some interest, but he's a 71 overall defensive tackle. Anthony Barr has no interest. Mac Hollins has a little bit of interest. I guess that's good. And then these two guys I really don't care about here. But my God, we may be rebuilding on defense a bit. We are going to try to bring back Alex Highsmith. I know he has no interest in coming back, so I'm offering a player-friendly deal. He's an 84 overall superstar X Factor. Hopefully we can get him back. He is going to test out free agency. That is not great. Well, Myles Jack is not a scheme fit, only 83 overall. I'm not going to throw him a big contract. Sterling Shepard is now 31 years old. We'll see if we can get a replacement. So it looks like we are headed into free agency with $64 million in cap space. But before we head into free agency, we do get to look at quarterback Kenny Pickett. He currently has +3 to morale right now, but he is up to a star dev trait and a 73 overall. But here's the rest of the offense before we jump into free agency. Once again, I'll probably be looking for a wide receiver 3 and maybe a left guard because Green is a 73 overall normal dev trait. Everyone else is a star dev trait. And now over on defense, Hayward has still not retired, so that's good for us. We still have Javon Hargrave. We probably need another defensive tackle, and we need every single linebacker position. That's not great. Strong safety seems to be all right, but we'll see if there is an upgrade available, and then maybe another corner. And the second offseason of these rebuilds is always really interesting because guys like Nick Bosa, Rashawn Gary, Justin Herbert, T. Higgins, and Jalen Hurts all hit free agency. But now here are the contracts I am throwing out in this free agency, and I will tell you right now, none of these linebackers are a scheme fit. I have no idea how much that's going to affect simulation, but I guess we will find out. The first one being Rashawn Gary, a 91 overall outside linebacker, then Tremaine Edmonds, an 88 overall middle linebacker, trying to bring in Gabe Davis, Shaq Thompson, an 82 right outside linebacker, almost said 92, and then Jonathan Jones, an 81 overall corner. Let's see if any of these guys want to sign their contracts. I doubt all of them will. It looks like Gary and Shaq Thompson are still waiting, but we land Tremaine Edmonds, Gabe Davis, and Jonathan Jones. And we're just going to jump to the next stage here and see if these guys want to take this because I can't really up their contracts at all. I have pretty much no cap space remaining. And Denver has now joined in on Rashawn Gary, and Shaq Thompson still has not decided. And I have now offered them both new contracts. I have exactly $0 in cap room apparently. But let's see if these guys are going to take this contract. And no, they don't. And it looks like the Broncos also upped their offer. And the Panthers have come in, and he is definitely more interested in them. So we're going to withdraw from this offer. And I guess we'll try to throw a little bit more money at Rashawn Gary. And I'll have to advance to the next stage here to see if we land Rashawn Gary. But I've also added Akeem Davis-Gaither, who is actually a scheme fit. And it looks like we do land Rashawn Gary and Akeem Davis-Gaither. It's now showing I have about $6 million in cap space, but that's probably going to be everyone that we sign. But now let's see where the rest of the top free agents went. Nick Bosa is headed to the Giants. Obviously, we got Rashawn Gary. Justin Herbert is headed to Carolina. T. Higgins is headed to Tennessee. Jalen Hurts is now headed to Atlanta. Antoine Winfield is headed to the Bears. Darius Slay is officially a Colt, and Michael Pittman is now a Bear. And now that we're at the next NFL draft, we have pick number 25 in this draft. Let's see who the Commanders take with the first pick. They're going to take Jalen Carr, a quarterback out of Miami. The Lions with pick 2 will take right tackle James Valesco out of Boise State. And the Eagles, who just lost their quarterback and pick 3 this year, take left end Joseph Dunbar. Let's see who the Jags take with pick 4. They're going to take an outside linebacker and Damian Redmond. And the Bears at pick 5 will take wide receiver Chris Smith out of USF. And now we'll jump to our pick. And I think here in the first round, we're going to take defensive tackle Will Mims out of South Carolina. C block shedding, B finesse move, A power move. Comes in with B awareness, A play rec. We're going to go ahead and take him, and he will come in with a hidden dev trait. And now here in the second round with pick 25, I'm going to take center Terrell Blade out of Wisconsin. Not to play center, but to play guard, and he will come in with a hidden dev trait. And now with pick 25 in the third round, I'm going to take right outside linebacker Paul Golston out of Alabama. He has A zone coverage, F block shedding, which is kind of concerning, but obviously our archetype is pass coverage at outside linebacker, at least for right outside linebacker. So we're going to take Paul Golston. He does have elite level speed here. He was the second fastest at the combine and the third fastest at pro days. So we're going to take Paul Golston, who will have a normal dev trait. And that would wrap things up for my part in this draft, and now we'll see what the CPU ended up taking. Well, it's not great that Paul Golston was apparently the worst player that we took in this entire draft. Mims, the defensive tackle we took in the first round, is a 72 overall. Blade is a 73 overall. And there's Golston as a 62. Then they took a 65 overall middle linebacker, a 69 overall receiver, a 66 overall right end, and a 65 overall wide receiver. And here is the starting offense for season 2 of this rebuild. And Blade was actually a better center than the other guys we had on the roster. So Blade is going to start over everybody, and I move Patterson over to left guard. And now we jump over to the defensive side of the ball here, and it looks like Jamel Dean is actually injured to start the season, but he's only going to be out for 1 week, so it shouldn't be that big of a loss. I'm excited to see what these two guys can do at linebacker. Obviously, it was a big loss to lose our 2 linebackers last season, and then we added Mims at defensive tackle. So obviously, last season we went 9-8, got in as a wild card team, even won a playoff game. So obviously, the expectations are a little bit higher than they were last season now. So I expect maybe 10 wins and hopefully we can get to a conference championship. Well, we go 9-8 for the second straight year, but this year we don't even make the playoffs. All right, well, that's definitely not what I was expecting. And Kenny Pickett did throw less interceptions this year, but also threw for less yards and I believe less touchdowns. On the ground, Najee Harris did a lot better though, 1,300 yards, 19 touchdowns. And receiving, Gabe Davis had 100 catches, 1,300 yards, and 8 scores. Deontay Johnson got 8 touchdowns. George Pickens got 12 touchdowns. And then I don't want to go to blocking. I want to go over to defense. And it looks like Tremaine Edmonds leads the team in tackles with 126. And sacks, that goes to TJ Watt with 20. Rashawn Gary got 9.5. And interceptions, Jamel Dean led the team with 3. And no Tyler Huntley this year, as Patrick Mahomes leads the league in passing yards with 5,300. In touchdowns goes to Dak Prescott with 46, and interceptions goes to Josh Allen with 21. And then on the ground, Aaron Jones ran for 1,800 yards, and touchdowns goes to Josh Jacobs with 23. And receiving is Cooper Kupp yet again, 133 catches, 1,900 yards, and 23 touchdowns. All 3 of those good enough to lead the league. And then I didn't talk about this earlier, we're the 3rd offense in points per game, but the 14th defense in points per game. So we got better, I believe, in both of those statistics, but did not win enough games to get into the playoffs. And the Los Angeles Rams defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl 31-28. The NFL MVP goes to Joe Burrow, the Coach of the Year goes to Zach Taylor, Cooper Kupp wins Offensive Player of the Year, Nick Bosa wins Defensive Player of the Year, and then a quarterback for the Titans wins Offensive Rookie of the Year, and an outside linebacker for the Jets wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I am a little bit terrified right now. We went from having no cap space at all last season to having 19 players ready to negotiate their contracts, which is not a lot to me, and we have $100 million in cap space. That tells me some big contracts expired and are probably going to want new ones. And there's already definitely some big names up here. Tight end Pat Freiermuth wants a new contract. Cam Hayward still hasn't retired, but he's down to an 83 overall star depth trait. I don't know if we'll bring him back. Javon Hargrave's contract has expired, but he's 32 years old. Don't know if we'll bring him back. Deontay Johnson, might want to try to bring him back. James Daniels, all right. And then now we're just to the lower guys on the list. But yeah, we definitely have a couple contracts to at least throw out here. And this is going to sound insane, but I am not going to offer a contract to Deontay Johnson. He's 84 overall, obviously a scheme fit. He's a very good receiver for us, but I'm going to see if there's anyone better in free agency. He has a lot of interest in coming back, so we might be able to win him back in free agency, but I want to see if there's an upgrade available. And we're going to offer this player-friendly deal to Pat Freiermuth, and hopefully he returns for us, and he is excited to sign such a great offer and stay with the team. And I think I'm going to let everyone else hit free agency. Defensive end Cam Hayward, defensive tackle Javon Hargrave, wide receiver Deontay Johnson, and then all of the rest of these guys that just seem to be backups, except for there was Terrell Edmonds here, 80 overall. We'll see if there's another safety in free agency. But here is the rest of the starting offense. While I say the starting offense, Blade is apparently going to start at 2 positions because we don't have a right guard currently on the roster. Definitely a position of need here. We have Gabe Davis and George Pickens. We re-signed Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to look to see if I can't bring back Deontay Johnson or another receiver. And Najee Harris is now a superstar X Factor. And over on the defensive side of the ball, we are fine at left end and free safety. Looks like we need to add some corners for some depth, or at least one to play on the other side of Jamel Dean. We're probably going to need a new defensive tackle. Since we let Cam Hayward leave, we're going to have to look at right end and maybe right outside linebacker as well. And there are definitely some big offers here to be made in free agency. Jalen Waddle is here, Joe Mixon, Hassan Reddick, Brandon Ayuk, DJ Reed, Micah Hyde, Kadarius Toney, Deontay Johnson. We may have to go all out this offseason. And I've definitely thrown a ton of money out in free agency now. Wide receiver Jalen Waddle, defensive back DJ Reed, right guard James Daniels, who was on our team obviously. We're going to try to bring him back. Strong safety Derek Forrest, and right end Yannick Ngakoue. Let's see if any of these guys are going to take their contracts here. And we're past the first stage, no one's there, and that's because we land all 5 of them. And have now thrown out a few more contracts. Most of these guys are going to be backups. Jonathan Jones, DJ Chark, Michael Carter. I don't want to try to pronounce your name, but I think he plays running back on the Vikings. I could be completely wrong. And Rudy Ford. Once again, all of these guys are just expected to be backups. We'll see if we land any of them here. And it looks like they have all signed. And let's see. It looks like we land DJ Chark, Michael Carter, the running back, and Rudy Ford, I believe. And there's Jonathan Jones, if I didn't say him. I think we have everybody. If I missed anyone, I do apologize. And now we can take a look to see where all the top name free agents signed. Obviously, we got Jalen Waddle. Joe Mixon is headed to the Rams. Hassan Reddick is headed to the Rams. Brandon Ayuk is headed to Tennessee. We got DJ Reed. Micah Hyde is a Jet. Kadarius Toney is headed to Atlanta to play with Jalen Hurts. Deontay Johnson is headed to San Francisco. And then I don't see any other real top names here. Cam Hayward has signed with the Broncos. And for the final draft of this rebuild, we have pick 17. Let's see who the Browns are going to take with pick number 1. They take right tackle Ben Escobar. The Vikings with pick 2 are going to take an outside linebacker. The Cardinals with pick 3 are going to take another outside linebacker. The Texans with pick 4 will take a third straight right outside linebacker. And then the Jaguars at pick 5 will take a defensive end. So if you've watched any of my rebuilds before, you guys know that in the final season, I tend to try to trade some picks to go all out for this season, but we really don't have the cap space, so I've got to just draft players and hope they're good. So we're going to start with defensive end Malcolm Towns out of Washington, B block shedding, A tackle. We're going to take him and he will have a hidden depth trade. And now here in the second round, I'm looking at outside linebacker George Ham out of Penn State. He has A pursuit, A tackle. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is he does not have great speed, but we're going to take him anyway, and he will also have a hidden depth trade. And now in the third round, I'm not going to lie, this guy may not be a great pick. His skills, not really that great, but I will say his physical abilities, he had one hell of a combine. We're going to take defensive tackle Niles Shipp out of Kansas State, and he will have a normal depth trade. It looks like Malcolm Towns, the defensive end we took in the first round, is a 72 overall. George Ham is a 73. Niles Shipp was a 65. Not great. Then we took a 66 overall tight end, a 73 overall receiver, a 65 overall quarterback, and a 65 overall running back. Here is the starting offense for the final season of this rebuild. When we started this, Kenny Pickett was a 71 overall normal depth rate. He hasn't improved much in overall, but he is now a superstar depth rate. And at wide receiver, he has Jalen Waddle, George Pickens, Gabe Davis, DJ Chark, and at tight end, he has Pat Freiermuth. If he can't make this work, I really don't know what to tell him. And now over on the defensive side of the ball, I have moved Towns over to defensive tackle. This was our first round pick. He was a 72 or a 73 overall. Moving him to defensive tackle actually made him a 76, and now he'll actually get a chance to start. And you can see here we are an 87 overall offense, an 85 overall defense, and an 86 overall team. So now we will jump to the end of the season. We have gone 9-8 in the 2 previous seasons of this rebuild. Hopefully we can finally take that step forward. And we actually finished this season 12-5, but don't win the division. The Browns win it at 12-5, and we get in as a wild card team. We have the number 3 offense in points per game and the number 6 defense. And Pickett will finish this season a little bit over 5,000 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. Najee Harris runs for 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns, and receiving Jalen Waddle 1,200 yards and 8 scores. Gabe Davis caught 8 touchdowns, Pat Freiermuth caught 5, and George Pickens caught 8. What about defense? What happened over there? Tremaine Edmonds leads the team in tackles with 132. In sacks, TJ Watt got 19. Will Mims, the rookie, got 11. And Rashawn Gary got 10.5. And then over for interceptions, Jamel Dean got 3. And Derek Forrest got 3. And leading the league in passing yards is quarterback Craig Wayne, a rookie that the Lions took in this last draft. And Tyler Huntley once again up here with 5,300 yards. Who led the league in touchdown passes though? That will be Tyler Huntley with 43. And interceptions goes to the rookie quarterback Craig Wayne, who threw 22 of them. On the ground, Jonathan Taylor ran for 2,300 yards. Are you kidding me? What about touchdowns? That goes to Josh Jacobs with 24. And receiving for the 3rd year in a row, Cooper Kupp is up here at least, but Amon-Ra St. Brown leads the league in receptions. In yards, that goes to Cooper Kupp, and in touchdowns, that goes to Cooper Kupp as well. And after going 12-5 and getting into the playoffs, our season will end in Kansas City in the wildcard round 31-24. And the Dallas Cowboys managed to win Super Bowl 60 over the Ravens 31-21, with Dak Prescott getting Super Bowl MVP. NFL MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes. Coach of the Year goes to Robert Saleh. I hope I said that name right. Offensive Player of the Year goes to Jonathan Taylor. Defensive Player of the Year goes to TJ Watt yet again. And then Offensive Rookie of the Year goes to the quarterback for the Eagles. And Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Malcolm Towns, our defensive end, that we switched over to defensive tackle. And ultimately, this will end in a failure. We failed to win the Super Bowl within 3 seasons. We do, however, get Kenny Pickett up to a superstar depth rate, but he never got above a 76 overall, which kind of sucks. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.